Welcome, chefs, to week 2 of meeting the founders here at Runaway Vows. Today, we are talking with someone who needs no introduction. It is Jake Weisler Films. And in this episode, here he is.
As if I haven't been here every week. What's up, guys? Happy
And
to be here.
And this week, we're going to be talking about everything that Jake has done. Most of you know him from Full-Time Filmmaker. And for those who are listening here, you've probably seen him transition over to Runaway Vows. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about seriously everything. We're going to get vulnerable. We're going to talk about Legos, short films. We're going to be talking about everything at Full-Time Filmmaker, what happened, Jake's exit from Full-Time Filmmaker, and how that transitioned over to Runaway Vows as well. So we talk about a lot in this episode. But as always, we are going to put links in the Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. If you ever have any questions for us, send us an email as well. But we hope you enjoy this episode, and let's cook.
Living in a daydream, ooh, such a sweet thing. Life on a big screen, it's such a beautiful scene, yeah.
Excited for this episode, Jake.
Yeah, me too.
So to give the people an idea,
Yeah.
we talked about my story last week, maybe a little too in depth, but hey,
I loved it. Yeah.
And so this week we're talking about your story and everything at FTF, because if you and I are in one room and any random filmmaker walks in, I promise you they're going to walk up and be like, Jake Weisler.
Jake Wise, I'm a huge fan.
And they'll be like, hey, I'm Nate. Oh, nice to meet you for the first time ever I've ever seen you.
What do you do?
Who are you? What do you do? I am also associated here.
I was offered the job first.
So we're going to talk about your experience with Full-Time Filmmaker. But we're going to go even way before that too. Like, what was your first experience with a camera? What did you do in high school? Did it go back that far? What happened after FTF?
Yeah.
What led to Runaway Vows? Because you were the first one with the idea of, even if it was obscure, some wedding production company.
Yeah.
So let's just start at that. What's your first memory?
I do feel like the title of this episode is probably going to be Jake, Full-Time Filmmaker.
Yeah. Jake leaves
Clickbait.
Full-Time Filmmaker.
Complete clickbait.
Cuts all ties.
One day we'll have Parker on as one of our sous chefs.
Would love to have Parker on.
Yeah, and just let him rip into us and talk about our stories. But I'll talk about Full-Time Filmmaker for sure. It played a huge role in my life. But I think I want to focus more on like my personal journey as a
Just like your arc.
yeah,
your
my
arc.
Yeah, because I'm one bad day away from just snapping.
One bad day from just selling all the gear and taking all the assets, moving to Switzerland.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the first memory, I guess, of film?
Yeah.
You know, a camera.
Yeah.
Where'd you start?
So I'm gonna go way back here to my dad,
Birth.
Kirk, Captain Kirk.
Love Kirk.
Amazing man. Decided at 18 or 19, his family wanted him to go on a church mission. He didn't go.
Your dad didn't go on a mission?
He decided to, he said, I need to grow up first. And so he joined the military, became a bad A airborne ranger of I don't know how many years, came home, then did the mission, a little bit older than the usual guys do. Then went to college later in life, married my mom when he was 28 or 26, maybe. Was going to college. I think he got a degree in youth leadership.
Really?
I
know.
And had some jobs. At those jobs, became kind of the go-to morale guy who would kind of lead presentations. And his boss and mentor told him, "You should do this. Like, you should speak. You're good at it." And I think there's a funny story where one day his boss kind of like surprised him with an hour-long presentation. Said, "Here's the room. You know, present." And that was his first experience public speaking. This is all going to come full circle in a second. The reason I'm talking about my dad.
Pan over to me. I'm just asleep.
Boring. Cut to Parker. But yeah, so he became an entrepreneur just kind of by happenstance, and never did advertising for himself, never marketed himself. Word of mouth referrals solely. He provided for a family of 8 for 30 years, up until COVID, where public events stopped, but he's back on top now. But
Wait, family of 8.
6 kids, 2 adults, 2 parents
Oh, you're counting your parents.
total. Yeah, 8 people total.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that didn't make sense to me for a second.
And so I'll talk about. I want to explain that background when I get to that later. But so my parents have always been very supportive of all of our ventures, all of our kids ventures. They've never been one to say, "Oh, but you have to do this. Like this is kind of your path. Like you're gonna go to high school, you're gonna go on a mission, you're gonna go to college." It was never the path. It was always my parents would always look for things that we enjoyed doing and try to go all in on that. So when I was 10, I really enjoyed soccer. So my parents would push me in soccer. When I was 11, I really enjoyed the guitar, and so my mom would get me into Elvis, and I just had an Elvis phase where I loved Elvis. So they were always very supportive of any passions we had. In fact, growing up when I was like 7, I started buying Legos, and I loved Legos. Like I loved Legos, and so my dad would buy me Legos for every birthday, every holiday, every trip. He'd come back with a Lego set, and I would build it, and I just loved it. And then it kind of turned to every Christmas, I would get one big present. It'd be a huge Lego set, and I would spend all of Christmas just building a Lego set. To the point where when we moved to Georgia, and we finished our basement, he made one whole bedroom a Lego room, and he built this custom table in the Lego room that had built-in shelves, and it had tunnels under the table. So the whole room was a table, if you can picture it. And they had tunnels under the table so you can kind of walk to the other side of the room, like crawl under the table to the other side and pop up and build. And then he painted the walls and ceiling blue, like a sky. The table was green, and the shelves were yellow and red, so Lego colors. And so you built this landscape basically for me to make this Lego city, and I did. I built a Lego city the size of a room.
Holy
We had roads, we had trains, we had buildings, we had people walking around. We made all these things. So I just always loved creating. My parents were always very supportive of that creative venture. And I'd say in 2010. Oh, sorry, I was probably 10 or 12 when my parents bought an iMac camera. And for Christmas one day, I don't even know why they bought it.
Wait, an iMac camera, like
An
your computer?
iMac computer.
Okay.
I don't even know why they bought it, but
Yeah.
they bought it for me and Josh. Oh, I do know why. So that year, I was living in Georgia. After elementary school, we have 3-year middle school before high school. And middle school where I lived was trash, absolute garbage.
middle school was?
just pure dog water, just the absolute worst. Horrible reputation. Just no one liked it, but everyone just did it because it was close. And then it's middle school. And I think middle school in general, maybe it's just like every middle school sucks.
Yeah.
You're going through puberty. Everyone's being peer pressured. Like it's just like maybe it's just like that's just what middle school is.
Shoving you in trash cans.
Especially in Georgia. It's just a bad place.
Yeah.
So my mom's like, we're gonna homeschool.
Wait, what part of Georgia again
I
was
lived
it?
in South Atlanta.
South Atlanta.
Yeah.
What was the city?
Fayette County, Peachtree City, Fayetteville. Yeah. So my mom's like, we're gonna homeschool for these 3 years. And all of us we lived on 5 acres. We were all like stoked about it, like, yeah, sweet. We knew our parents didn't actually know how to school, so we basically just got like a year off. And that year, I think we bought an iMac for kind of the education. Never used it for education. My mom would I remember one day, it's like day 1 of school, year 1, 6th grade. My mom wrote a math problem on the board and said, solve this. And we did, and she didn't know what to do after that.
Just basic addition. All right, guys.
So that year, my brother Josh and I, because we had so much freedom, we went outside. My mom didn't like us playing on the Wii, so we would go outside on the trampoline. We had 5 acres of woods, and we would just go explore. And we were just children, and we would we created these worlds and characters, and we wrote books, and just really innovative and creative. And Josh and I had a fun time that year. But that year with the iMac had a webcam. And so in the winter, Josh and I would make webcam videos. We'd use the webcam to make lip sync music videos or sketches. We'd use the green screen feature to put us in China, super low quality, obviously iMac camera. But we had so much fun doing it. And again, my parents saying that Josh and I were enjoying something, they went all in on that thing and said, okay, they love doing this. So my dad then bought us a 12-foot green screen to put behind
That's cool.
our chair. solely to make the green screening of the iMac webcam more effective, because it would kind of like analyze
Yeah.
the room and then kind of mask
Early
you out.
AI, yeah.
Yeah, but like, so he's like, well, if you have a green screen, then it's a plain backdrop, you can easily do it.
Yeah.
That same year is when my dad and I became super into movies. So he was introducing me to Lord of the Rings. We got to just watch the extended edition together. He would pause it, explain things. We watched the behind the scenes together. So I was like falling in love with movie making. Like really falling in love with it. It was kind of my dad's thing. Like we'd go out, we'd sneak out and go see movies. This is back when like there was like midnight showings the day before release.
I miss those.
So he would like act like we're sneaking out of the house to go see it, like our thing. So like I remember one night he like walked in my bedroom at like 11. He's like, "Dude, we're going to see a movie. Can't tell your mom." Obviously she knew and didn't care, but it was kind of this fun like thing. So like, and he over dramatized it. So we'd sneak out the garage window and like push the truck down the driveway and then get in, like just super dramatic. But core memories. Fell in love with movies that year, and Josh and I were making funny webcam videos, and then we found the family camcorder, so we started doing that. And that same year, my very first video was a Lego stop motion video. So I was like, I'm gonna make a Lego movie, and so me and Josh made a Lego stop motion video in our Lego room. And it was funny. It was pretty violent, actually.
Violent.
Oh yeah.
A violent Lego
Well, like
stop
there's
motion.
people with guns in the city, and so
Is there blood?
No, but I had assassin shoot citizens at point blank range, and they got ran over by a car.
Wow.
But it ended in the marriage,
Ended in marriage?
a happy marriage. But then at that wedding ceremony, they drove off in a car and ran over people. So it was just
How old were you?
probably 13, 14. Yeah.
Dark.
Yeah. But yeah, like those middle school homeschool years. The first year was like mainly a homeschool year. The next 2 years we went to a private academy. Like it was like for homeschoolers, but like you went once a year, once a week, and learned. And then that whole week you had assignments. So like you learned one day, and then the rest of the week you just did homework. So you taught yourself, kind of a thing.
I'm not sure I knew this. You went to a private
Yeah.
academy.
Yeah, it was called Konos, and there was a bunch of homeschoolers who would meet once a week, learn the curriculum, and then your job was they would give you a week's worth of homework, and you did it over the week, and taught yourself and did homework all week.
Wow. I feel like, yeah.
Learned time management, and that was the idea.
Yeah.
That's when I met Isaac Lee
Wow.
at that academy.
Yeah, full circle
His
here.
mom was one of our teachers. And Isaac Lee, for those who don't know, has been in some short films with me. He's actually a very talented actor and filmmaker. He actually just got signed on with a big acting agency. But anyway, so that was that year. And then my dad loved the camcorder videos Josh and I were making. So when I was 14 for Christmas, he bought us a Canon T2i. I still have it. And Josh and I started making YouTube videos, like comedy sketches. Really had a fun time. Really enjoyed it. We made our first video was called How to Kill a Kidnapper. And it was Josh talking to the camera. Josh is a dynamic personality. It was Josh talking to the camera, and I was the kidnapper, and he was teaching people like what to do if a kidnapper approaches you and how to kill them. And it was like stupid. Like he would like, now jump behind a wall and go to China. Like, and it would green screen to China. It was really dumb. That same year I was doing trick shot videos, ping pong videos with my friends. Just really fun. And then Josh and I started making like short films, like cheesy short films. And we started filming with Isaac Lee more, doing short films, and our company was called Weissler Studios, which is my German
Weissler.
name. Yeah. Just had a lot of fun with it. And so all of high school, and again, my parents just going all in on us, helping us create what we wanted to create, buying audio gear for us, didn't know how to use it. Like I'd buy like a Zoom and I would just put it raw next to us, like thinking that's what, and it kind of worked, but fun. Like that high school, we started getting better, and then I started going with Isaac more and doing more like commercial stuff, more short films, film festivals, like really trying. We started doing corporate stuff, short films, had a lot of fun with that. I was in our high school's newsroom, which was pretty pointless and stupid, but didn't have the same type of, I think, opportunities that Alta had maybe for video stuff. It was just, I don't know. But yeah, high school was interesting. Again, it was always like an outlet. Romantically, I was like, yeah, I want to be a movie director. I love Peter Jackson. I loved Christopher Nolan. I was like, oh, I want to do that one day. But you also just kind of think, yeah, I don't know. My parents like were never one to push us into a career. They want to just kind of explore and do what we wanted to do. But I always loved creating things, from Legos to movies to, whatever. I always loved doing that. And then my dad, my freshman year of high school, he brought me to one of his conferences. It was actually out here in Park City. It was this training camp for corporate stuff. And so he had me come with my DSLR, and he had me take pictures and videos the entire week of these people doing this training course. And every night make a slideshow, just a slideshow of music, and then an end of the week recap video. And I made that video for his boss, or the person hiring for the event, and my dad never told me what it was for. I just said, yeah, do this for me. And then that guy paid me $2,000 at the end of the week.
$2,000.
Yeah. And I was 14 years old.
Wow. That had to be a pretty big boost.
It was. And I think my dad knew what he was doing. My dad wanted, my parents always are trying to show us the ceiling, or that there's no ceiling in our life, And I think he was trying to show me that you could do this, because he was speaking for a living, which he never thought he'd be able to do. And so I think he was trying to show me that you can make money doing what you love. But I think I was too young to really understand that concept. So I just always thought jobs were like what my dad did. Like, yeah, like whatever I'm good at will just kind of happen naturally. Was kind of, I don't know, it was weird. So then I graduated high school. I met my wife at the time.
Is that all you did in high school? And just kind of like iMac videos, stuff with your brother?
Yeah, just like YouTube. We grew up to like 1,000 subscribers, made some funny sketches.
You had 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, we had
on
1,000
YouTube.
subscribers.
This was like early
and
YouTube.
Josh.
That's good numbers.
We would watch Julian Smith every week.
I
Like that was like OG.
Jellyfish.
Ryan Higa.
Yeah.
Just all those guys loved it. Made comedy sketches. It was so fun. I made a 30-minute long Scrooge short film, which was fun. So yeah, like it was always kind of the outlet. And I think once the better you get in any industry, you start to see what other people are doing more, and it stops becoming a hobby. And I started like, oh, people are like really good at this stuff, and I'm not, type of thing. And so then high school, graduated. In my senior year, I didn't really do a whole lot of video stuff. I just was busy doing senior year. And then I met my future wife, Kenzie, my senior year. And I was in Georgia. She was in Arizona. Our parents kind of set us up. They were friends in high school. And so I feel like senior year, I was kind of like just finishing high school, really not giving a crap about high school, because my junior year, I had college classes to make up for extra credit. So my senior year was very light workload.
Were you doing like the associates?
Dual enrollment thing. Yeah.
Like you graduate high school with like an associate's degree or something?
No, it was dual enrollment. So like I basically a kickstart to college.
Okay.
So I was doing a community college a couple days a week. And I took like a history class and a science class. And in my senior year, those counted. So I had already checked off all those boxes. So I didn't have to do anything my senior year. I had like 4 classes and they were all arts.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is awesome.
If you're going to do college, that's a great way to do it. Yeah.
So I was in like theater classes. I was a total thespian in high school. Like
what?
some of my friends,
A thespian?
I don't know if that's what the phrase is, like theater kid.
Oh, you were a
So me and
theater
my
guy.
friends like joined theater for fun, like
Oh,
so me
yeah.
and my boys, and I was Van Helsing in Dracula. It was an awesome play.
Did you ever
the whole
do
county loved it?
Midsummer's Night Dream?
No,
Really?
no. What is that?
You didn't do Midsummer,
No.
Shakespeare?
No. Our theater director was crazy. She
Did you do your own? Did you do any of your own plays, or was it just?
no, I was just acting in the school plays. It was Dracula, and I was Van Helsing. It was an intense play. The theater director wanted it all to be in black and white, so we all had black and white makeup on, and the whole set was black and white except for the blood. It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was my senior year. Awesome. Met Kenzie. We were doing distance because our parents, anyway, wanted to move to Arizona. My family just loves moving and change. So after my graduation, I moved to Arizona. That summer was crazy. I was just kind of dating Kenzie and didn't do anything with video. Again, just thought that kind of that ship had sailed. I don't know. Just kind of that like done with high school, take some time off. That October, I left for my church mission. I went to Philadelphia for 2 years. Loved Philadelphia. It's the Philadelphia mission, but I was stationed in like northern Pennsylvania, like the border of New York and Susquehanna, for 6 months. Then I went to Newark, Delaware for 6 months. Then I went to Coatesville and Reading, Pennsylvania. And then my final 6 months, I was in Broomall and Philly, which was awesome. Amazing 2 years.
Did you have a camera on your mission?
I didn't.
You didn't have a
We had
camera?
little iPads.
Okay.
And we'd take pictures, and I would make some like, we would like make music videos on them sometimes
Some
when we were
missionary
snowed in.
music video.
Yeah, but nothing. I was really kind of, I really feel like on my mission, similar to you, that wasn't even on my mind.
Yeah, not even thinking about it.
Yeah. I just thought that was like a high school hobby.
Yeah.
Like genuinely.
Yeah.
I just thought I was done with that, you know? And I learned a lot about myself on my mission. I was put into a lot of situations where, because I think the point of a mission is to, well, you go on a mission is to go help people in the areas you're called to serve. But I feel like my mission was very focused on the missionaries I was around.
Well, I imagine you were probably in some rough areas.
Oh yeah.
And so the mental health of the people, the companions that you were with probably was
Yeah.
pretty down because they're already homesick.
Yeah.
And then you throw them into a pretty rough area
Yeah.
and you kind of need to learn how to be a
Yeah.
good person.
Yeah,
to
I
them.
had some amazing missionaries, and I just felt like I was really there to be helped by missionaries and to help missionaries, more so than I was there to. I mean, I still did. I served in my people in my areas, but when I look back at my mission, I think about the missionaries that I was with and the people I got to help and be helped by. And also learned a lot about myself and what I wanted to do, and a lot of leadership aspects of myself that I hadn't unlocked until then.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love doing this. And so then you just kind of think naturally, okay, I want to be like a CEO. I want to be on a skyscraper, top floor with a big office, you know? So I was like, I'm going to go to school for business. That was my goal. When I left BYU, when I left my mission, I was like, I'm going to go to BYU. That's where my wife was, my girlfriend at the time.
So you, on your mission, at one point, you were assistant to the mission president, correct?
Yeah.
And I guess for those people who don't know how missions work, like there's the mission president.
There's a hierarchy.
There's
a ladder.
There's definitely a hierarchy. There's the mission president, the mission wife, and then the mission president has assistants, and then there are zone leaders, there are district leaders, there are trainers, there's new missionaries, and assistant to the president. It's kind of joked about in the culture, but every missionary wants to be an assistant to the president. Yeah. Like it's just
You've
like
made it.
you've made it. You're top dog in the
That's
mission.
the image,
you
at
know?
least. Yeah.
So do you feel like
It's
being
not what it is, but
do you feel like being an assistant to the president, like it's not what it is, right? But do you feel like that had some sort of an impact of like realizing that you kind of worked your way up to being right next to the top dog?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that had any impact of you realizing like, hey, I kind of want to be a CEO? Like
Yeah. I think leadership for me was given to me because I needed it more than the people I was leading needed me.
Yeah.
I feel like I needed to be in a spotlight to work my hardest and be my best. I feel like without that added pressure of people are watching you, I wouldn't have given it my all the way I did, because I was being put in the spotlight and saying there are 200 missionaries watching you.
Right.
Because they come to us before the mission president. The mission president doesn't want to be bothered.
They're doing other things.
And so we were kind of his eyes and ears. And so like for me, it was like I had to work harder.
You're the role model.
Yeah. And so I think it was more for me. I feel like I learned more about being a leader than I helped lead.
Performing while people are watching.
But it did. I enjoyed it though.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed being in charge of people.
In a humble way, of course.
Yeah, I really enjoyed, like there's people in this area that I need to go help. Like they're struggling. I'm going to walk into their area, sit down with them and minister. I really enjoyed that. That's why I love coaching calls more than I love courses and that's why I love workshops. I want to sit down with you. Like what's going on, you know? So I learned that about myself, that I love that.
Yeah.
I love leading. I loved being in charge. So yeah, I'd say he played a huge part in unlocking that part of me.
Makes sense.
That was my parents always cultivated that culture in our family of leadership. my dad always, he wrote books about it. He wanted us to be leaders in our friend groups. But that was the first instance where I was out of the house, under my, not from, out from under my parents' umbrella, having to lead. And I enjoyed it.
Nice.
And humbly, I thought I was good at it.
Yeah.
I thought I can do this. Like, I learned a lot. I was humbled a lot, but I was like, I can do this. And maybe people from my mission will disagree, but
There comes.
they probably will.
Yeah,
and I'm cool. I'm cool with them disagreeing.
The next 1-star reviews come from that.
I'm not a perfect guy. I don't claim to be. But maybe me enjoying it more so than being good at it is, I don't know.
We've got a 1-star review from DJ Tipsy,
Yeah.
and a couple of 1-stars from your
mission.
companions.
But I loved it. I love my mission. I cried on the way home. I
Yeah.
did not want to come home. I felt like I was leaving the party early. But I came home, said I was going to be a businessman, whatever that meant. And I applied to BYU solely because that's where my girlfriend was going. Had no ties to BYU, didn't care, really. Didn't really care about college that much. My parents never pushed me to college. That was never the goal for them, was to get kids to college. They were not the parents to say, college is the start of your life. My dad was very open, like, yeah, I went to college, never used my degree, so take that for what it's worth. That was kind of the start and end of every conversation about college, was that. But I was going solely because Kenzie was there. And so I applied to BYU, didn't get in. My high school grades were horrible, and BYU is pretty competitive,
It's very
hard to get into. And so a mediocre guy like me, not a chance. And so I did get into their night program.
The night program.
The night program.
Night campus.
Night classes.
You were one of those guys.
Yeah, so it was 2 classes a week, history and a religion class. And so I got home in October of 2016. I was engaged to Mackenzie by December 2016. It would have been October that same month, but I had to buy a ring and stuff. So I was working some, I had this online job right after the mission. Some guy in my church offered me a job. I was digitizing financial documents for a firm. So they would give me scans, and I would categorize them into folders for them. That's it.
Doing some dirty work.
That's it. $10 an hour, maybe. And I used all that money to buy a ring. And then in January, I was moving to Utah to start my night classes. I was living with a family friend in their basement for free. No prospects. I just knew I wanted to marry this girl. That's all I knew. I wanted to marry Kenzie. And I got a job teaching at this religious center, which was like 3 hours in the morning.
The MTC?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like $400 or $800 a month. Just 3 hours every day, 4 or 5 days a week, teaching 18-year-old kids about religion. And I enjoyed it. It was a great job to get right after a church mission. But no prospects. And so that January, one of Kenzie's friends, one of, I guess, our mutual friends, was like, hey, I'm getting married in Arizona, beginning of January. Can you bring your camera and film it? We know you did YouTube videos. Because I did a funny music video with her brother 2 years before. This music video I made for Kenzie.
Is this Kylie? Wait, who is this?
No, this was oh yeah, I totally forgot. I filmed my sister-in-law's
Were
wedding
they the first one? Kylie and Mike?
before I left on my mission.
Kylie and Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, that was so that was
Yeah, wow, I skipped that one.
2014?
Yeah, 2014, I filmed my very first wedding.
Okay.
Didn't know what I was doing. I literally had a 5D Mark III rented, 24-70, and I just filmed. I stood there and filmed everything, but I was also kind of a part of the wedding, so it was kind of very casual, put to some music.
Yeah.
That was my very first wedding.
We used that wedding for a lot of ads. A full-time filmmaker.
Do you want to improve?
Look how terrible this one was.
Look at how Jake started. Yeah.
Turn it from this to
Yeah.
this.
No, yeah. That was my first wedding, but never thought anything of it. It was like for family. It was like documented. It was.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so I guess 2 years later, when our friend Britt Mumford, I can say her name, got married, she's like, "Film my wedding. You did Mike and Kylie's. You did do videos with my brother. Like we did a funny music video." And I was like, kind of that ship has sailed. I'm a business guy. I'm getting into business. And she's like, "I'll pay you $300." I was like, done.
Sign me up.
And I spent all that money getting there.
Is there a vendor meal?
Actually, I think they paid for my flights to get down there. But So I went down there and I filmed this wedding for her. And yeah, that was a weird day. That was my first paid gig. And again, $300 was almost half of my monthly salary, right?
So while it doesn't seem like a lot,
It doesn't seem like a lot,
compared to what you were making,
but it was a ton in that month.
yeah.
And so I went home, I edited that video, and it wasn't a great wedding. It was a cute wedding. Her husband at the time was Polynesian, so there was a lot of cultural stuff that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
They got divorced, and I'll get to that later. But I used that wedding as like the launch to Jake Weiser Films. I was like, I'm gonna make an Instagram.
Crazy.
And again, the goal was I'm gonna use this to pay for college.
You made an Instagram after that first
That
wedding.
day, made it that week. Yeah.
Like you
I
made
was like,
it,
I'm gonna post this. I'm like, I'll make an Instagram
you made a separate Instagram just
for that
so
wedding.
you had that clarity right
Yeah.
there. So for me, when I filmed my first one, I just posted it like on
Yeah.
my personal.
No,
Here you
I
go.
was like, no, I'm gonna put it on Jake Weiser Films. And
Wow.
I also have Mike and Kai's wedding from 2014. I can post. So I was like, I have some content.
Are those
I can
still on
post.
your account?
Yeah.
Way
Scroll
at
all the way
beginning?
back. Yeah.
Really?
I left them. And then also in Utah, everyone gets married right off the mission, really young.
Yeah.
So all my mission friends were getting married that year. I knew they were going to be. I was like, I'll film their weddings too, pay for college. Because my 2 classes at BYU, the night classes, that semester was going to cost me $1,500. And my parents weren't paying for it. That was me, right? And for 2 classes at the time with my salary, that was a lot of money
That
for
is
nothing.
A lot of money. Yeah.
And I'm planning a wedding, right? And money's tight. I'm also trying to find a place to live with my new wife that we're getting married in May. So all those things. But that January to May, I was grinding stuff. I drove up to Idaho to film another friend's wedding
Filming
for $300.
stuff. You were grinding,
Yeah.
like trying to build out Jake Weiser Films.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I went up to Idaho, filmed a wedding for $300. Also, I mean, they always say we use their video as ads too. As
Who
like
is this?
her name's Allison.
Okay.
And we always use their videos at FTF's ads like beginner, you know?
Yeah.
And she always comments on those ads like, we still love our video.
Love it. Yeah.
Because they're awesome. Good friends of mine. But yeah, I was filming friends' proposals. I filmed like all my friends' proposals. I was filming everything I could find. I was just trying to film videos. Mainly just weddings and engagement stuff.
2017.
It's 2017, early 2017.
Yeah.
So then college ends in April. I pay so that month I pay $1,500 for my semester. We have to get an apartment, which was only $600 a month. Crazy steal. This crappy ghetto apartment we found in Provo. The basement, it was so bad. Spiders, it was so ugly. Smelled like, yeah. But they require first month and last month's rent due at the start. So I have no money, planning a wedding. I have to pay $1,500 for 2 classes that were stupid, history and religion. I'm like, I don't need any of this. This isn't helping me be a businessman and provide for my family. Why am I paying money to this institution? $1,200 for just a place to live. And then I have a honeymoon I have to go on. You know what I mean?
It stacks up. Yeah.
And I call my dad, another core memory. I call my dad and say, Dad, I can't pay for this. And he just goes, what do you need? And he's not wanting to give out favors.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you need? I was like, I need my rent covered. And he's like, okay, here's $1,200. He's like, I don't care about the money. He's like, go pay me back. He's like, but I want this to be off your mind for your wedding next week. He's like, I don't want you to be thinking about this while you're trying to get married. I want you to know that's covered. It's because my dad's a big believer in whatever is taking up mental space affects your output.
Just how you, yeah, everything else.
So he's like, let's get this off your plate so you're clear on your wedding day. And I remember crying on that phone call, like, I want to be like you. Like, and he's like, oh, you owe me money. He's like, but I got you. Mm-hmm. So he paid for my rent, and I had a great wedding. It was a beautiful wedding. It was a perfect day. Had a first look. My wife looked gorgeous. All my boys came. Didn't know you. But all my old friends, and it was a perfect day. My parents flew us to Hawaii for our honeymoon. Had a great honeymoon. Loved Hawaii. Came home, and then life hit, you know?
Mm-hmm. Bills.
And I had to re-enroll in school. And I was like, I'm not going to.
You're still working at the MTC, right?
MTC, and I still had that online job,
Okay.
digitizing documents just to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do this. Like I told Kenzie, I was like, I can't re-enroll in college. I'm gonna take a semester off, just to save up some money for next semester. And she's like, yeah, totally cool. Take a semester off. I was like, I'm having a hard time justifying $1,500 again for 2 classes. But she was still in school grinding, and she was really smart, has scholarships, and so that wasn't a huge expense for us. But that same month, I was like, I'm just gonna go hard on video this month. That same week after our honeymoon, I got an ad on Facebook for Full-Time Filmmaker. It had just launched.
Jeez.
And it was the ad of Parker with his DSLR and a glide cam in Dubai.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm traveling the world with just my camera.
The OG.
And I was looking at his camera. I was like, it looks like mine. It was a bigger brother to mine. But I was like, what?
I think it was like the 60.
And Parker just captivates you.
He does.
He just gets you. And his ads are
Sucks
beautiful. And he's
right.
traveling the world. I was like, I want to travel the world. I want to see the world, and make money with my camera. And so I took his webinar. I had a notepad. I watched this whole hour-long webinar. The pitch for his $1,000 course was like $600. And my wife was there with me. And I was like, I want to buy that course, and we just couldn't afford it. It was a huge gamble. It was the very first time I'd ever invested in anything, right? Which is funny because I just paid $1,500 for college that didn't do anything for me, didn't learn a single thing. And I learned so much in that webinar, and I still couldn't justify $600 for a course. Because it's just my own insecurities. It's
It's a lot of money.
an online thing. You're like,
Yeah.
I got an ad. Like, it feels very scammy in a way. So I didn't do it, but I followed him on Instagram, on YouTube, and I started just watching all his stuff and taking notes and applying it. In his webinar, he talks about 10 secrets to achieving cinematic shots. So I applied all those things to my videos. I reached out to every local business trying to do videos for him. I was like, I'm going to try everything. Music videos, corporate videos, speaker videos. So there's this small time, just opened up cookie company a block away called Chip. And I reached out to the CEO who worked behind the counter at that company. I was like, can I make a video for you for free? And she said, absolutely. Turns out they became a huge company, and then Crumble copied them, and now Crumble's nationwide.
Man, that's, yeah.
But I was there at the beginning. And then I was doing music videos for like religious singer girls, and I was just trying out all of it,
down here in Provo, yeah.
doing some speaker videos for some buddies of mine.
Yeah, your
my dad's
didn't
buddies.
you have like a shoulder rig? Like
Yeah.
a cheap little built-out
Yeah,
shoulder
I was
rig?
doing shoulder rig stuff. I was doing music
Yeah.
videos. I was doing free to fee. Kenzie went to like this parade in Salt Lake City. I filmed the parade. I acted like I was the paid videographer. No one told me no. I was in the front lines making a parade edit. Just anything I could get my hands on to film, I was trying to get content because I was like, I'm providing for somebody now. I got a wife. I got to pay bills. I got to make this work. But none of it paid. That was all free work. All of it. That same month, Parker posted on Instagram he would need extras for a music video he was doing with the Piano Guys. I was the first person to see it. I commented. I was like, I would love to be at your music video.
At this point, you haven't bought Full-Time Filmmaker
No.
yet. Okay.
Nothing. So he let me come to the music
I
video.
remember when he made that post.
Yeah.
I remember that. Piano
I was
place.
his first DM
Piano place in
at
Draper.
Lakai.
Right by my parents. Wait, oh
No,
yeah,
so
yeah.
this was
At
his-
Lakai.
this was first,
I
yeah.
got you, yeah. But
So
yeah,
I went
I
to
remember.
Lakai. I sat down in
remember
my
that.
suit. I was helping Gaff. I met Nick George, his assistant. He was filming behind the scenes. I remember I was there way early, and he showed
Yeah.
up, got out of his car. I remember he jumped out of his car. I was like, "You are tiny." I remember I was like, "You're a short guy."
But he has such a presence.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And so just fanboyed over him. And so then I was assigned a seat in the music video, and I sat across from this girl. Her name was Sarah. Got to know her. Turns out she had her own piano company that she had
That's
just
awesome.
launched, Piano Place. And I found out her and Parker were great friends, and that Parker used to film their videos, but he was becoming a hot shot and too busy for him, so they're looking for a videographer. And so I was connecting with her. I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to film for you and stuff." And then at the end of the music video, I walked up to Parker. I was like, "I'm gonna shoot my shot," because in his webinar he talked about shooting a shot with Devin. And so I asked him for a job in front of his intern,
Crazy.
in front of Nick, in front of 3 other guys. I was like, I want a job.
You were that guy.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
And we hate those guys.
We hate them.
Who walk up to us and say,
It
like, give me a
happens.
job. I'm like, no. But from Parker's perspective, he's like, okay, like, yeah, I have a lot of needs, just launched a course. Send me your reel and let's talk. So I sent him my reel. And my reel was the weddings I had shot that year on my T2i in 720p, 30 frames per second. My honeymoon footage,
Honeymoon
some
footage.
shots of the beaches and Kenzie in the woods or the jungles hiking.
Wow.
Put to an M83 song.
Midnight
So bad.
City, yeah.
No glide cam, no movement. Just so bad. A lantern festival
Classic.
that I had shot.
Probably because you saw Parker's Lantern Festival
Yeah.
and you're like, I need to capture that.
So bad. He responded like, he basically just said no. Like, he's like, do you need, like, excited to see you grow?
Pat on the back.
Yeah. Don't want you to work for me. I watched the webinar again. And I emailed him and said, hey, man, like, just letting you know, I'm applying everything from your webinar. Just can't afford your course. And Parker, being the guy that he is, it's never been about money for him. Genuinely wants to help people. He said, well, what can you afford? Let's get you in the course. And he does that. I shouldn't publicize this, but he's that genuine of a person. And I said, I can do $300 right now. That's all I have in my account.
Yeah.
And he sent me a link to buy for $300.
And I'm sure when, again, like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't publicly say this, but when you came on at customer support, at least for me, when I was getting onboarded, I remember being told, like, yeah, usually at least once per day, like, just give out the course to somebody.
Yeah.
Like, if they're genuine and they really just
Yeah.
can't afford it, like,
That was Parker's
give it to 'em.
culture.
Yeah. That was the culture. he
We're
created.
helping people more than we
Yeah.
care about their money.
Yeah.
And that's why he would refund anybody. If you don't want my course, I don't want your money.
Even if it was past the 30 days.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay.
Genuine.
Sorry, but here you go.
So I bought his course and I dove in, man.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of bitterness from the job rejection, but then a lot of determination. My dad always taught me, don't be discouraged, be determined. If you're discouraged, you could choose 2 things. You could be discouraged and be down in the dumps and be depressed and say you suck and never do anything about it. Or you could say, okay, why do I suck? Why am I discouraged? I'm going to be now determined to be better and to improve that and to overcome that and become better because of it. That was just my dad's culture in our family. And so I just said, okay, Parker thinks I suck. I'm gonna not suck. And so I took his course. I watched every video. I took notes. I would literally watch a video and walk outside after that video and do what he said. Even if it was like frame rates, I would show myself, what does it look like 24 versus 30 versus 60? I wanted to see the difference in the editing software. I would have Kenzie come out with me. I'd tried glide camming. I tried a time lapse, like all those things. I would try everything he taught. Vertigo effect, different panning movements. I would try everything, focal lengths. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I need Parker's gear. So I told my dad, I was like, I need $5,000. I need to buy the 5D Mark IV and a 24-70 and a glide cam, and I'll pay you back this year. And my dad said, done. And he hooked me up. And he said, okay, he's like, you still owe me from the rent, but I'll add it to your tab. He's like, so here's the 5D Mark IV, 24-70 and a glide cam. And so, and Kenzie was very supportive. She's like, yeah, I don't really care what you do. I just want you to be happy. So then I was taking his course. I was applying everything. I was reaching out to every company and person I can think of. And then at my job, I was taking off Saturdays a lot to film weddings. And that's the great thing about Utah is that you can get started in weddings pretty quickly because you can usually find someone engaged in their weddings probably in like a month or 2.
Huge market, yeah.
Don't have to wait a whole year for the wedding to be, So I was doing a lot of weddings and posting about it and posting about it and posting about it. And a lot of my friends are very attractive people. So like it was just like eye candy and stuff. And then I was filming for Sarah from the Piano Place. I was doing her launches and her parades and trying to make him look like a Parker video with his same focal length and everything. And then I remember in July, so I got married in May, met Parker. So June, July, I think it was July or August, one of my mom's friends was a realtor and said, I need a real estate video. And I was like, I got you. And so I show up from this house for, morning and sunset, made a video. I edited the video at work the next day. And he loved it and he paid me $800. And I'll never forget that moment because I was sitting in my apartment with Kenzie and she was working a telephone job just to pay the bills, which was like $10 an hour, 10 hours a week, just bare minimum. just to pay the bills, buy groceries. Because what I was making at my jobs was paying our rent, period. That's it.
Yeah.
Rent and gas money. So everything she made was food. And our families didn't live here. So it wasn't like go to their families on Sundays and get meals. It was
Leftovers,
like
yeah.
we're on our own. And so I remember sitting there and I got a PayPal for $800. And that was my monthly salary. And that was the moment I said, I cannot work for anybody else.
Yeah.
Because jobs give you a ceiling.
Yeah.
And I could do more. And so then the next month I was on fire in August. And I said, no, like the free to fee is working, but I now need a charge for that. And I made $2,000 the next month doing video, just video. I was even doing mundane jobs. Like I was taking my dad's speaker friends, boring conferences of the guys in the back with the camera. I was making them hype edits from these crappy 720p 30 frames videos, making them edits for $500. I was just making edits. Made $2,000, and then my boss at the MTC, the teaching job I had, I was taking off every Saturday, and he's an amazing guy. His name's Brixton. He came up to me one day and said, "I can tell you've lost passion for this." And he's like, "You're taking off every Saturday, and I follow you. I see you're posting weddings. I can tell you love weddings, and it seems like you're getting good at it." He's like, "You should quit and go do that."
What a good guy.
Yeah.
What a good guy.
He's like, and I know what he meant. He's like, you either stop taking off Saturdays and I fire you, or you quit.
Yeah.
But he said it in such a very teachable, like, you should chase this passion. Mm-hmm. And he said to me too, he's like, I've been here for 5 years. I'm kind of stuck here. Don't be me. If you know what you want to do, go do it. Stop delaying it.
Yeah.
And he knew that he had to be that push, because I wasn't going to quit on my own, because it was a stable paycheck. Now Brixton is he's top dog at some tech company. He's freaking killing it. We still keep in touch. He's a good guy. But I quit. And I just quit my other online job because it was just, pennies compared to my video work. So I came home from work and I said, hey, I quit my jobs. I'm full-time video.
Did you talk to Kenzie beforehand, or was it just like...
No, I came from work saying, hey, Parker, or Brixton basically fired me, but I quit. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh.
But at this point, like, you had already made $2,000, which was enough for rent and food and to save.
But it was that month. Nothing planned for next month.
That's true.
Know what I mean? So it was very month to month. And so she's like, but Kenzie's always been like, hey, cool. Like you're killing it. Like, hey, good for you. Mm-hmm. And I was paying off my dad month by month, So we were making enough money to live, have fun, and pay off debt. So then I was like stressing. I was like, I actually do need a stable paycheck. So I texted my online job guy. I was like, can I have my job back? Just doing online work? And he's like, no. I was like, wow. And so then I texted Parker. And I texted him, and I forget why I had his number. I think it was for details for some shoot, but I had his number. And I texted him, and I was like, hey, man, like, just wanting to let you know, your course changed my life. I've taken it, I've applied it, I've watched it twice. I'm now a full-time filmmaker after 3 months of doing it. I'm him. I did it. I did your course, and it worked. And thank you. Just like a thank you text. Mm-hmm. And that impressed him.
Yeah.
More than the quality of my work impressed him. Because, quality is relative. You can improve. But the mindset of, like, I want to be a full-time filmmaker is what said, okay, who is this J kid? Yeah. And then that same week, Sarah, his friend, posted my parade video from the piano parade. Piano place. And I literally copied Parker, like, shot for shot, wide angles, orange and teal. Music was Imagine Dragons. Like, it was very Parker, and it looked like one of his videos. Uh-huh. And so he's like, okay, Jake is replicating me. He's teachable. Like, I can mold him into a mini Parker.
Put him in this hole, yeah.
And so then he said, come shoot a real estate video with me that next week. So I went and shot a real estate video with him, and he bought me lunch after, and he basically said, here's what I need. It's not glamorous. Still do your wedding stuff, but I need customer service and emails. And I was like, done.
Sign me up.
And I was like, I can commit to you like 20, 40 hours a week. Like, what do you need? So I started doing emails for him. I was answering webinar comments, emails, refunds, posts, managing some stuff here and there, just helping him lift the load off of him so he could just focus on making content. And we just vibed really well right away. That I was lifting the load so he could do more. And Nick George was kind of his behind the scenes guy. So I was doing that all winter of 2017, making good money in an internship. My wedding stuff was taking off. Jake Weiser Films, I met Courtney that fall.
But you were just doing customer support,
Yeah.
right?
But I met Courtney that fall, and she started giving me some awesome clients and showed me this whole new world of weddings that I was like, just loved. And then, Kenzie was very supportive. I decided I wasn't going to re-enroll in college. My in-laws were a little bit stressed about it, but also very supportive. My parents were supportive. I paid off my dad's debt that year. And then in January, I was doing a behind-the-scenes video with Parker, and I crashed my car. Totaled it. It was a crappy car. Brakes gave out. Sleek roads.
I remember that.
And I remember after that, I walked into a Honda dealership, and I bought my own car. And that was crazy to me. In January of 2018, I bought my own car. My dad.
Is it the Civic you have now?
Yeah, it's my Civic
Really?
I have now.
It was that car?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
that car.
Wow.
And I bought it. I walked in, bought it, and left. And I didn't need anybody to help. And that's like an adult moment for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wanna pause real quick and just say, from my point of view, I remember like this is all like the Jake Weisler development arc.
Yeah.
From my point of view, I remember, like I mentioned in last week's episode, I was kind of like in with FTF from the very beginning, like just a couple of hundred students. And I remember when you first joined, because it's true, like you joined the course and you were taking it very, very seriously.
I was posting about it in the Facebook group too.
You were posting in the Facebook group very regularly. You were known.
Yeah.
And me just being like, some young cocky kid thinks he's cool because he knows Parker. I remember checking the Facebook, and here I am. I'm not posting my work, heaven forbid, because it looks terrible, but I thought it looked so cool. And I remember you were posting, and I just genuinely remember thinking like, man, this is not good. This is not good work.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, this kid's
It wasn't
really posting it though. Like, he's very proud of it. And then you and I kind of like started talking. I was like, okay, we kind of like started DMing and talking, but still I kept seeing all your posts. I'm like, man, they don't look very good. His work's not that great. Yeah. And then you started working with Parker, and I don't remember if it was, 1 month, 2 months, 3, 6 months. At some point after having Parker's mentorship, it became like undeniable. This kid's videos are actually starting to get really good.
Yeah.
Like it was night and day. Like
didn't know you hated my original videos.
Yeah, I hated them. Yeah. I thought they were terrible. But
I think it was clarity though.
It was very, night and day though. Like when you got that mentorship, I don't know what switched, but it was probably putting in the hours mixed with just knowing Parker, being around Parker, going on these cool shoots and really keep practicing the things that were taught in FTF. It became just undeniable. Like, wow,
I think having really someone like Parker in your corner gives you a lot of confidence.
It does.
Because knowing that, okay, well, I got a job. I beat out other people for this job. Mm-hmm. Parker sees something in me. That gave me a lot of balls.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, I can do this. And then also having the pressure of not going back to school. I got to make this work. This is it. Providing for Kenzie,
Right.
And so, it was a crazy year. And then I think Nick and Parker, that didn't work out. So Nick went back to North Carolina. So I kind of became the behind the scenes guy. Or starting to become the behind the scenes guy, and then that March or April, Parker got a deal with Hyundai to go out into Hawaii to film the Kona launch, and I begged him to bring me as the first behind the scenes gig, and he was totally just like feeling me out on that trip, just like asking me questions about my wedding business, how do I manage certain things. And on the plane ride home, he offered me a job to work full time, and said like basically, what are you making, doing Jake Weiser Films, and I'll match it type of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember in March, the month before that, I had made
2018.
of 2018, I made $10,000 on my own, just doing it. I think I did tons of weddings, and some side things here and there. And so that was kind of my expectation moving forward. And Parker said, okay. But Parker also wanted to incentivize me to grow the business, wanted me to feel like I had a stake in it, And so he said, I'll give you a percentage of FTF. And at the time, I'm sure I can show these numbers. I don't think he'll care, but at the time, FTF was doing about $100,000, $150,000 in sales, maybe $80,000 actually, a month
Yep.
in sales. And he's like, I'll give you 10%. And he's like,
man.
and that'll match your. It's a little bit less than your salary that you could potentially make on your own.
So he just okay. So
he's
he
like,
just gave you percentage.
He's like, you'll probably get like $7,000 or $8,000 after ad spend a month, but that will help you want to grow it so you can get to your $10,000 goal that you've made in March on your own.
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds fair. Sounds very fair.
Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But the agreement was that the weddings were kind of done.
Yeah.
That my wedding business was kind of being absorbed by a full-time filmmaker. So in 2018, we started working together full-time, and the job was awesome. I had a lot of roles. I was an ad manager, behind the scenes, customer service, reporter, like accounting guy. I was doing all these things, wearing a lot of hats, but that's just kind of Parker manages a business. But my ego, Jake Weiser Films, was popping off. And so I had a hard time letting it die. I wanted to put a lot more into it. And so I did. I just kept growing Jake Weiser Films and growing Full-Time Filmmaker.
Well, I remember at this point too, we've had a lot of conversations in the car where it's been like, okay, like I'm doing Full-Time Filmmaker, but Parker agreed to let me take any wedding that was $4,000 or more. And that was like the benchmark. It's like, okay, it's a $4,000 wedding.
Well, Parker pushed me. Parker told me to read Essentialism, told me how to say no to low budgets, and said, I want you to take higher budgets because he wants me to be an example of a full-time filmmaker.
Because at this point, you were basically filming lots of like $2,500, $3,000 weddings. So the idea was...
And his thing was that doesn't impress anybody.
No, do a $4,000 wedding.
If you're on my team, I need you to be a teacher. I need people to look up to you and say that's a goal.
Yeah.
And so he told me to double my prices.
Yeah.
He told me to raise my prices a billion
you
times.
went 2,000 to 4,000. I remember that conversation in the car. Like, I'm going to turn down any wedding except for a $4,000 inquiry.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of money. We're like, whoa.
And I was surprised at how it didn't really affect my business at all. Because Parker saw, like, no, you'll be getting those inquiries if you just raise your prices. And I did.
Yeah, and I think even fair to Parker's point, like Parker's never been in the wedding world, so he didn't know that even $4,000, like really, it is a good chunk, but like I don't even think he knew that there's $10,000, $20,000,
well, that's
$30,000.
Parker's strength is he doesn't compare. He doesn't say, well, what does the wedding world do? Okay, I'm going to fit in that mold, which a lot of us do. He just no, this is what you're worth, wedding or not. You should be being paid this much for your day
if you're gone for a day or two.
Yeah. So that year, Jake Weiser Films was exploding, which was fine because I was really just doing back-end work for Parker, and it wasn't really distracting me from my full-time filmmaker job at all. And also, like, it was just, like, valid. I was getting better at filmmaking by doing 1,000 weddings that year. I think I did 100 weddings that year.
Yeah.
And so in Parker's mind, it's like, well, Jake's growing better as a filmmaker. Let him do his thing, But FTF was growing. Just having, extra hands, we just started doing more work. And so then that fall, I made Wedding Video Pro, thinking, I just did 100 weddings this year.
I know how to do
in
weddings.
Utah. I can do weddings.
I can teach everybody how to do weddings.
And we'll do a whole episode about this because I don't want to make this a 2-hour long podcast. But we'll talk about Wedding Video Pro later. But I made Wedding Video Pro. At the time, there used to be a part of me that would say that it was prematurely made. I disagree with that now because, like you said last week, it's led to a journey that I would never take back. But I had a lot of false confidence in Wedding Video Pro.
What do you mean?
Thinking I knew a lot more than I did.
You knew how to teach everyone how to book weddings.
Because that was my narrative.
Yeah.
I think if I would have paraphrased it the way we paraphrase now or disclaim now is this is how I do it, not how you should do it. This is what works for me in my market, in my community. But I was teaching it like with the confidence Parker had because Parker's whole course was about just generic technical filmmaking. Yeah. So I made Wedding Video Pro about like, here's how you do it. And it was very amateur, just point blank. It was a very amateur course.
Looking back now, though, with clarity of what we've learned.
Looking back now, and after getting hundreds of DMs of people saying it changed their life
Yeah.
and it got them to where they are now, I have no regrets.
Yeah.
But what did it for me was when I made Wedding Video Pro and it launched, it got a lot of traction because it was the first wedding course out there. It was. It was like one of the first, at least the first one that had noise, because Parker put money behind his ads.
And it was full-time
And if you
filmmaker,
outspend everybody else, you're going to be the most well-known, most successful course.
putting down $1,000 a day towards
And
ads.
Wedding Video Pro was also our first successful mini course launch. And I was like, yeah, I'm top dog. Like I'm the shiz. My course is selling like hotcakes, and people love it, you know. And since I had a percentage of the company, like any additional sales just made me more money. So I was just like, yeah, this is awesome, you know. I was starting to hit my $10,000 a month mark. And for whatever reason, small insecure men were very threatened by Wedding Video Pro. And again, I want to do a whole episode about this and maybe bring those guys on. But it got a lot of hate, not from the FTF community. FTF community loved it.
Well, yeah, you're talking to like 20-year
But
vets.
all the old dogs, 30 to 40-year-olds,
They see
were
some
hating on it.
20-year-old kid teaching
Yeah.
how to book weddings.
And I was
make
teaching how to book
living.
$3,000, $4,000 weddings. And for people who are in year one, that's a huge amount of money. But for people who are like charging $4,000, $8,000, $10,000, like, this is pathetic. Like,
Yeah.
you should be learning from guys who are teaching you how to charge $10,000. So there were a lot of vile Facebook posts. There were a lot of vile Instagrams, comments on my videos. Just older, bitter, outdated men who felt threatened by a beginner. And I wish I had the confidence I have now back then, because that was the first real critic I'd ever had. And
Yeah.
Parker warned me. He said, when you're in this space, you will get hate. Like, there'll be haters. Just ignore them.
Do you feel like that affected just like your mental health?
Yeah.
Like that was kind of like the start of like, whoa, this is weird.
Yeah, it really got to me. Because then I watched their films and they were better.
Yeah.
I watched these haters' films and they were
Well, they've
better.
been doing it for 20 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
it better be.
And back then I would teach in the course, like, yeah, don't need lighting. Like, I just didn't know what I didn't know. I was in literally my year 1 or 2 of being a full-time videographer. What do you know? But I let those stupid men, and I always think of King Theoden from Lord of the Rings, the leader of Rohan.
Oh, yeah.
When he sees the orcs falling upon Helm's Deep like water on rock, he says, what can men do against such reckless hate?
Oh, such a good moment.
And I think about that time of my life, it was reckless hate, where the goal was to destroy me. The goal was to take away my confidence enough so that I wouldn't be a threat to them. And now I'm like, well, now I just have the maturity to say, like, the fact that a beginner videographer who is making an educational course for other beginners threatened a veteran like you tells me everything I need to know about you.
Yeah, did you
and
ever
your insecurities.
Did you ever take it as a compliment?
Never.
Probably not back then, but now you probably were like, yeah,
Never. Oh, it's the
stuck
biggest
it to 'em.
compliment.
Yeah,
It's
it's
the
a huge
biggest compliment.
to disrupt someone.
And now and not pridefully, but I'm like, if you're threatened by somebody younger, worse, and more amateur than you, but they thought it was like some attack on the industry. I'm like, well, if you feel like your course is only successful if there's no beginner amateur teaching something else, tells a lot about you. But
and it also is like you'll never receive shade from someone who's actually doing really well and is just happy with themselves. It's always from the people who, like, those people, they might have been teaching and their sales weren't doing good, and they probably weren't actually doing that good.
Yeah.
And they see you doing good and they're like, yeah.
well, they
enough
see our
with
ads.
this kid.
Parker was outspending them.
Right.
10
so
to 1.
My guess is that they actually weren't doing everything that they
No.
probably weren't booking what they say they were
No.
booking or selling
No.
what they say they were selling.
Absolutely not.
They weren't actually successful.
But at that same time, I came across Ray Roman, and he wasn't one of the haters. But that's that exact same my lowest point of confidence. I came across Ray Roman, and that really was the dagger to me. Was seeing like someone voted world's best with a course. I was like,
Oh, you saw his course?
I saw him in his course.
Okay.
and he was voted world's best videographer at the time. And I was like, who am I? Like, this is pathetic. And I've only cried to Parker a few times in my life, but that was one of the moments I was just really down, and he knew, and he brought me into his office because I wasn't really working hard. I was, just kind of, going through the motions. And he said, what is going on with you, bro? And I just broke down. I was like, I am comparing myself to Ray Roman. He's like, and he literally looked at me. He's like, who is Ray Roman? I was like, he's the world's best filmmaker. He's the world's best wedding
Parker's
filmmaker.
sitting there with millions of dollars, like.
And he never
who's
like
Ray
wanted to look
Roman,
him up.
man?
He never asked more about him. And Ray's been an amazing mentor to me since then. But Parker didn't even focus on that. He's like, why are you comparing yourself to the world's best? You're not the world's best. And I was like, well, ouch, but yeah, like, thanks. He's like, listen, and I tell this to everybody, but he said, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think you are? And I'm like a 5 or a 6, bro. He's like, all I see is you helping the 0s, 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s and 5s become better wedding filmmakers. He said the fact that 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s feel threatened by you shouldn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not, the course isn't for them. But he's like, we get hundreds of DMs a day, thousands of purchases a month because people love your product. And that was it, man. That was the light switch for me.
Parker has a lot of those moments
Yeah.
where he like you were saying, like those moments where he tells you just straight up you're
Yeah.
not the best, but it's in such a loving way.
Yeah.
And he follows up with, but you don't have to be.
Yeah.
You just have to be here and help these people.
It's like, what's your biggest struggle? Not the best. Okay, you're not. Next one? Like, what's your next one?
99% of other
Yeah.
people aren't as good as you, and you're helping them.
He's like, and you pull up DMs. Like, these are people who are their lives are being changed because of your course, because they're worse than you. He's like, there'll always be people better than you, people better than me, but I'm not trying to sell to them. I'm not trying to focus on them. I'm not trying to help them. I'm trying to help the people who I can help, who are worse than me.
Yeah.
And that was it, dude. That was the light switch for me. And the haters all of a sudden became ammunition. Didn't care. And I looked at them as like pity. I was like, the fact that you're threatened by a 22-year-old kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, tells me everything I need to know about you.
Yeah.
You pathetic, worthless man. You are the scum of the earth.
Tell
if
us how
you're
you
hating.
feel.
Yeah.
Tell us how you really feel, Jake.
If you have to hate on some kid who's just trying to help other kids and you feel threatened by him because I'm not fitting into your mold, which FTF never fit into anyone's mold. I was actually talking to the Gamut guys about this. Parker never gave a rat's butt about branding and making things look beautiful,
I love that about Parker.
but he just made a beautiful, a perfect product,
Yeah.
and it sold.
Yeah.
And he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
And then all of us teach and focus on branding,
So yeah.
but none of us are millionaires.
So it's like
know
what
what I mean?
actually, yeah,
Make a good product.
and learn how to sell it.
Yeah. And Parker's like, because we would always be like, oh man, the website sucks. Remember? Always.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be at the website.
Website
And he's like,
sucks,
it
our
doesn't
grid
matter.
sucks. Yeah, it
He's like,
doesn't
it
matter.
doesn't matter. The product is good.
One of our best buddies, Bridger Pennington. I look at his Instagram. He posts the weirdest
bad.
stuff. It's terrible. Like he runs,
Aesthetically, it's horrible.
he runs like funds. He teaches people how to run funds without going to Wall Street. And he, like, you would think he's just posting the coolest stuff.
Yeah.
And like you'll see on his page, he's posting like he's hopping in the sauna. Like, hey, I just hopped in the sauna,
Yeah.
hop in the ice bath.
Yeah.
Want to know how to run a fund?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like it doesn't matter. And I've always respected that about Parker. He didn't
Yeah.
create a brand. We never talked about brand guidelines, colors,
Yeah.
fonts, whatever.
Never.
But he taught us how to sell
Yeah.
and how to make
How to
products.
make a good product.
Make good products.
So that was a light switch, man. It was 2019, Parker sitting down with me and saying, these haters are nothing to you. It's like, they're probably better than you. Get over it. Get better. But focus on the people you're helping. And still, so I look back on Wedding Video Pro, and I still think it's a very amateur course. Needs a facelift desperately. But I still get DMs, people saying I binged it and it changed my life and I quit my job because of it.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters, you know? And if you're an old vet and you're charging more than that, like, good for you. Why are you threatened by it? It's pathetic. Anyway, we'll have a whole episode about Wedding Video Pro.
I think, but that takes us to a good point though, and I feel like most people listening to this and most people involved in Runaway Vows at this point, they know you from Wedding Video Pro all the way through FTF. They saw your growth. They saw you kind of like evolve with Jake Weiser Films, but you became kind of the main face of Full-Time Filmmaker. Everyone
Yeah.
kind of knows how you rose
Yeah.
up the ladder and became kind of like the guy at FTF.
Because everyone does weddings.
Everyone does weddings. And they all kind of like saw you and knew you as that guy.
Taking pros out of a bad time. I do think I needed the hate to wake me up a little bit, check me a little bit, and say, okay, I actually have a lot of things to learn. And Adam Grumbo actually voted Texas's best, one of the best filmmakers in the world, in my opinion. Let me make Wedding Video Pro and watch me do it, and supported me and supported the course.
Yeah.
And knew I wasn't teaching everything correctly, but he knew I was in my journey.
Yeah.
And he was a mentor to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was always in my corner.
Yeah.
That's the type of maturity and mutual respect that the industry needs.
Yeah.
Is someone like Adam Grumbo who could teach it better and do it better and charge more and make it look better, but is helping the next generation do it.
And it's being mature enough to know that every single person could be an educator, and there's still way too many people in the world to teach everyone.
Yeah.
Like there's so much demand for people who need to learn.
But that's all it is. And I think you boil it down, and the reason people hated Wedding Video Pro is because it was successful and they weren't. That's all. At its core, that's it. It was jealousy and hatred.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was 2019. 2020 came, and Jake Weiser Films was popping off.
Yeah.
And I was becoming more of a content creator for Parker. And Parker hired Landon in 2019.
Lots of desk setups.
Yeah, because we were growing, and so Parker hired Landon. Landon was kind of a new guy, and Landon definitely had the FTF fire that I had kind of put into Jake Weiser Films, and Landon's video, his first video, made it just went viral. His seamless video didn't sell anything, but had tons of views. And people bought FTF because of that video. So like Landon was hot stuff, and
Still is.
it was
Still,
fun.
yeah.
Oh, he still is. And we became great friends that year. It was fun to have another content creator on the team. And that was the year Parker kind of started to let us know that he wanted us to be kind of more and more the face and take more of a back seat. And so we were doing that. And then and because I was no longer doing customer service and we gave that to somebody else, I was more of a content creator, required more of my time, really had to earn my paycheck. And like I was making, $10,000, $15,000 to $15,000 a month.
Great money. Yeah.
Doing that. And so now, because my paycheck was higher, double than what I started with, I think Parker's expected me to do more.
Yeah.
And so in early 2020, I was all in on Jake Weiser Films, and Parker was a side thing. And I was doing some great weddings, some of my favorite weddings. The week of the pandemic, we were in Hawaii filming a wedding in Kona. And I had also brought the new 1DX Mark III to get some B-roll of as an afterthought to the wedding, right? And it was obvious in the B-roll I got that it was an afterthought.
Yeah.
And it was also like a weekday wedding, so we took off a whole week. And so Parker's like, hey man, like I have all these deliverables that you're not meeting, and Jake Weiser Films is clearly thriving. And I feel like I'm funding Jake Weiser Films more than you're working for me. And I thought our initial agreement was that I absorb Jake Weiser Films, and Wedding Video Pro is a huge hit, but like I need you to do what I'm paying you to do. And so I was like, yeah, it's fair. And then the pandemic, I was like, all my weddings are canceling anyway. So he was like, I was like, yeah, I quit Jake Weiser Films. I'm done. It's all in on full-time filmmaker. He's like, great. And so since we had Landon, and I took a pay cut, so me and Landon had the same percentages now. It was a lower percentage, but it was still, $10,000, $15,000 a month. And we building out this content team, and that's when Landon and I had desk setup competitions, and I was just trying to be Landon all year, just trying to be this cool content creator, desk setup
Healthy
enthusiast.
competition. Yeah, healthy competition.
All 2020, which was easy because there was no weddings.
Right.
And in 2020, FTF exploded.
Took off.
No one was doing college, so everyone was putting that money towards, and the economy was doing great.
And they were getting paychecks.
Yeah,
from the
so
government,
everyone was
so it's like,
investing
here
in
you go.
FTF, and ads were going crazy. Parker, I don't even know if I should share his numbers, but safe to say, I was doing very well.
Yeah.
I remember some of those months I was doing $30,000 a month.
Yeah.
Just off a percentage, and that was also the year that I made Beginner versus Pro, which went up to 10 million views right away. And so that was a video that Parker's like, hey, now I'm going to pay you guys an AdSense money, a percentage, because Parker wants to reward credit where it's
things
due.
that bring,
So I was making AdSense money, I was making FTF money, and I was still making some Jake Weiser Films money. So like I was just doing really well in 2020. Awesome year. And so that year I bought a house the month before the pandemic started, like, and paid for it no problem. Like, it was just like money was great. Great year. And 2021 was an interesting year because 2020 ride was kind of down. And so now it was time to actually satisfy all the new students. And all my weddings from 2020 got pushed back to 2021. So I took a year off of weddings, didn't post weddings. And 2021, all of a sudden, I have all these weddings I have to do. And I didn't want to tell Parker I had to do them because he was like a point of contention, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was trying to do those under the radar, didn't post about any of them. In 2021, we were just trying to grow in a very interesting way. We were trying to make more of a production company. Parker had set the bar a lot higher because he was really trying to like build a successful team that could replace him. And I just started slacking again. I was taking the paycheck and, you know, I didn't really respect it the way I should have. And I was just like loving the fame of Jake Weiser Films. And I loved the Beginner versus Pro series. And so I think in 2021, I was just kind of coasting. I was doing good work. I was making some good stuff, but like I wasn't really trying as hard as I knew I could be trying because I was basically, I had 2 jobs. And then I think Landon got fired that year. I think it was in 2021. Because Landon was trying to do 1,000 things because Landon just also wants to own what he does. And he's really creative and has a billion ideas. And those billions of ideas conflict with FTF schedules. And so Parker's like, all right, just go do your thing, which Landon's so grateful for in retrospect. And so it was a crazy year. And then this is a long episode, but the catalyst, what really started my desire to quit FTF and start a wedding production company is in 2020 and 2021, you and I were traveling like crazy.
A lot.
We were living on planes together. We had Sydney and Nick in 2019. 2020 was crazy. We had so many just amazing weddings, and you and I just had so much fun. That opened the idea up, but then the catalyst was in 2021, in September, October. You were getting married, and you're like, I don't want you to film the wedding. I want you to be at the wedding, but I do want to do like a destination bridal shoot and have you film that for me at least. I was like, great, we'll use the Komodo. And we told Parker, I'm like, yeah, taking a weekend off, gonna film with Nate, but I'll bring the Komodo, we'll make a behind the scenes video out of it, you know, like how to shoot it on the Komodo. And Parker's like, great, that sounds awesome. And so we get to California, and looking back now, I don't think I've ever said this, but looking back now, I made an Audible. One, we couldn't find a behind the scenes guy, so that was kind of annoying. But then 2, I made an Audible. I was like, you know what? It's more important to me to film this than to make content for my job. Just to be present with my best friends, because Courtney was there, Dallin was there, you and Kayla. I'm going to be present and really just soak in this weekend and not turn it into a job shadow. And that bothered Parker. And I get why. As my employer, I get why. I told him I was going to do it, and I didn't do it. But that was a very telling moment for me. Like, why would I rather put my job on the line and be present with my friends and film than do what I should be doing?
Well, I'm getting paid for.
Yeah. And it's because my passion was somewhere else. And I don't regret it, because that weekend was one of the core memories of my life.
Yeah.
Was being with you guys on the Komodo with Dallin on the cliffs at twilight hour, drinking Cokes and just being present and truly creating. And yeah, I mean, Parker still gives me crap about that, but that was the moment I was like, I don't know if I want to work at FTF anymore.
Yeah.
And it wasn't this shame of like, oh, I didn't do my assignment, I want to just get out of here. It was more like, why did I feel so rewarded that weekend? And I told you those thoughts. I had those thoughts because you started working, and I had those thoughts, and I was always in the back of my mind. And then that winter, we were doing big projects, Hollywood sets, Hyundai, a lot of big stuff, a lot of traveling, a lot of work, a lot of weekends. And at FTF, the culture was you just kind of were always on call. That's kind of the culture. I didn't love that anymore. And so, yeah, and then 2022, we started doing, a lot more stuff, and did that really cool video with Sam Newton, Peter McKinnon, and all those guys. And that was a really cool moment for me in my career to be able to have, Sam Colder, Peter McKinnon, all those guys in my DMs, Daniel Schiffer, just like texting me. That was cool. But like, even that was just like, I kept thinking about weddings. And I was like, I really miss the wedding video community.
Yeah.
Because before I quit weddings, I was starting to get in touch with White and Reverie, John Bunn, all these guys. I was like, I really like these guys. I want to see where it goes. And Parker just could tell. And I think he always could tell that I had a passion to do something else. And I had a call with Parker at the end of March or April of 2022. And I think it was March. And he said, "What's going on?" I was like, "Hey man, here's where I'm at." I was like, I feel imposter syndrome at FTF because the channel is Parker Walbeck. It's since been renamed to Full-Time Filmmaker like this last month, but at the time it was Parker Walbeck. No matter how good I do, my Bidding versus Pro series is like 20, 30 million views on YouTube. No matter how good I do, it's not good enough because it doesn't move the needle with sales. People still ask, "Where's Parker?" And it's still your baby. And I feel like no matter what I do, it's not good enough here because it's just not mine, And I was like, and I truly find fulfillment in other things. And I told him, I was like, it's not the money. I'm overcompensated for my job. I shouldn't be making this much money for what I do. It's crazy. I got lucky. I got in at the ground level, and I got to ride the wave.
Well, I don't think Parker even knew when he offered you the percentage that it would turn into what it did.
No. I was like, I'm so blessed. You give me a lot. Parker gives us a lot of slack.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of freedom. Let me create my own content. The most annoying thing he would ever have us do is report weekly. And like that got annoying, but it's a healthy business thing to do.
It is.
But I was like, I got a lot of slack. I work with my best friends. I travel the world and I make a lot of money. It's not that's not doing it for me. And he's like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "I don't know, but I want to get back into weddings. I think I can do something there." And his first response, man, it wasn't, "I've just invested 3 years of my life into you, hoping you become like an FTF thing." Like, it was none of that. It was like, he's like, "Please know that I don't need you." Again, that harsh Parker feedback. He's like, "Please know I don't need you. I can do this without you if you don't want to be here." He's like, and it was his way of saying, like, "Please don't think I'm holding you back. I don't want you to feel that way. I want you to go spread your wings. If you want something else, go do it." He's like, "You have my emotional and my financial support." And by financial, he just meant he'd give me some contracts for the next few months to
hold you over.
ease the transition.
Yeah.
And that was all he said. It was a very simple, beautiful phone call. And Parker, when Parker's when he's in that mode, when he's listening and he's ministering and he knows what I need, it was one of those moments with Parker.
Yeah.
He said, "Go do it." He said, "Think about what you want to do. Talk to me about your exit strategy. Let's talk about it." Me thinking, yeah, probably end of 2022.
Yeah.
Early 2023. And I think I called you after that call. I was like,
did.
"Hey, I'm quitting."
Yeah, you did. "Hey, heads up, I'm quitting."
Yeah.
I'm
And
like,
then
"Hey,
a few
you
days
do it."
later, he texts me, "All right, exit strategy. Let's start it next month." And I knew I was going on a 3-week vacation to Italy at the beginning of May. And I was like, well, I feel weird to take your money in May when I'm gone for the most. So I'm going to quit. April's my last month. I'll quit for Italy. And Parker, being the financial supporter he is like, "No, we'll pay you till end of May. Like, we'll have you do wrap up this project you're working on." It was the Batman project.
Yeah.
Wrap up the Batman project in May. And when you come back, that'll be your last month. And I told Kenzie, and it was a stressful moment. I was like, "I'm quitting FTF.
Like, this is it.
Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was the end of the year thing. It's happening."
Yeah.
So in Italy, I was just like, this is my time to really think about my life and just like get clarity and take a few weeks off. And it was an amazing few weeks off. Italy was one of the best trips of my life. Loved it. But I was always thinking about, what do I want to do? And I knew I wanted to create a community for the wedding filmmakers and fill some of the holes that I thought existed.
Well, we had already like prior to quitting, the ideas were thrown around. Like they were never put together, but it was like if we left,
Yeah.
we could like do something. Like
Yeah.
there is some need for it.
Yeah.
And so Italy for you is just kind of like piecing it together a little bit.
Yeah. Sorry, one second. I need to call Tanner back.
Is he here?
Yo, sorry, we're running behind. Are you here? Is the door unlocked? Okay. Give me like a few minutes. I'll come get you. Sorry, just wrapping up a thing. Thanks, man. You're good. Yeah, so like I knew what I wanted to do, and I'm not like, it wasn't like I looked around and saw that people weren't doing it right. It wasn't that. I saw a lot of value in the educational industry,
Yeah.
but it was just like, you have your own unique talents, and I knew that people really looked up to what you and I did. And I also knew that Jake Weiser Films wasn't Jake Weiser Films without Nate Tian because of our partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we can do this. And I also knew that what I wanted to do, I was like, I can't do this alone. And you're the only person in my life who I could trust completely because we just work together so well. And so like all that was like clarity for me. And even quitting and getting that paycheck, I was very stressed, but I was like, no, like I know what I want to do.
Right.
Like I know exactly what this is being replaced by. Similar to when I left my teaching job at the MTC and Brixton just pushed me at the door because he knew that I knew what I was doing. Parker also saw that and said, no, I know what you want to do. I trust you to do it. Go do it,
Yeah.
And he knew that the seductive paycheck was holding me back. And he knew that. And I didn't know that at the time, but I look back now and I knew I would have quit sooner, but I was seduced by the paycheck. It wasn't just the money, but it was just like, it was a constant. It was a stable thing I could rely on every single month. And I built a lifestyle around that paycheck. And Parker said, no, this is holding you back. Quit right now and go start it. Don't spend a year thinking about it, And so, yeah, we got back from Italy. You and I met at Cafe Zao. And we planned Runaway Vows. And no regrets.
No regrets, yeah.
And so I quit, and then I was the chief content guy, and Parker's like, well, if Jake's not here, no one needs to be here. Called everyone else, like, you're all fired. And Parker finally, and I think Parker, I don't want to speak for Parker at all. I don't want to speak for Parker, so we'll have him on. But I think Parker, because he's a provider and he's just a natural giver, I think having a team that he was paying salaries to forced him to stay in the business.
Yeah.
Because he was providing for people. But without those people, he's like, oh, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not done. He's been putting out monthly content for the last year and a half. He's doing great. He's still killing it. But he got to slow down a lot more, focus on his family, and start his religious podcast, which he finds true fulfillment in.
Yeah.
So we're all happy. Like it's a happy ending for everybody, There are definitely times I miss FTF. We had some good times.
Oh yeah. Great times.
And Landon's been kind of getting back into it, which has been cool. But yeah, like that, I consider all that my journey of what led to Runaway Vows. The hate from Wedding Video Pro, but the success of Wedding Video Pro, the lessons I learned from Parker, opening my eyes up. You know that analogy, if you put fleas in a jar?
Mm-hmm.
I think Parker's big thing was making sure none of us were fleas in a jar. He wanted to show us what the possibilities were. And that's what his frustration was with my weddings, is that he's like, I don't understand that I'm paying you a percentage where if you just grinded every day and like figured out how to make more money, you'd make a lot more money because your paycheck would reflect the time you put into it. Whereas you go to a wedding and you're being paid $4,000 for 10 hours of work plus editing. Mm-hmm. He's like, I just don't understand. He just didn't understand that the business of that. He's like, it's just, I don't get why that's attractive to you when you can make more at home in your underwear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I learned that's where I was just different. It wasn't all the money for me. Yeah. I do want money. We'd love some money, but like it's not the main thing,
Yeah.
But Runaway Vows, just the first, and we talked about this last night, but the first few months of Runaway Vows, I was so happy.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I touched on it, last week, but while I was kind of, at the end of 2020, like beginning of 2021, you and I, we started working out. Like you started like realizing
I
that,
was the fastest I'd ever been in Italy.
you were getting paid a lot and you were eating a lot and you were not very healthy and you needed to get back into the gym, and we started working out. And I remember, yes, that moment in California on the cliffs might have been a catalyst, but like there were all sorts of signs to you just kind of like burning out. Like you just kind of
Yeah.
have you were having like these monthly burnouts, from my perspective at least, and it wasn't sustainable. And I remember one morning, you, me, and Sam, we were at the Forge. We were going to a gym, and we got there, and it was a little before. It was like 7:30, and we were starting our workout. And by 8 a.m., you were getting calls and like texts from Parker, and you just stressed. Like you couldn't work out
Anxiety
anymore.
attack, yeah.
Just an anxiety attack. Like you couldn't do any more sets. Like no more reps. Like we were trying to keep tempo and pace, and you had to just leave. You had to go home because you were on call. And I remember like kind of like what that did to you and like what it felt like to you. And you were just kind of like, you were gone, like it was all work, always on call, always anxiety, stress. You probably weren't sleeping good. You weren't eating good. You weren't working out. Like you weren't taking care of yourself. And it was just kind of like building up, building up. And lots of times we talked during that period of, yes, like good paychecks, but what came with it was just constant stress and just like mental health and emotional and physical health. So that was just like something that Runaway Vows has been crazy. It's just like
Our
the
priorities.
shift. Yeah, the shift of mindset of like, yeah, paycheck isn't what it was. Would love to build it up to back up to
will.
that, but it's got to scale from the ground up. It's got to be priorities. The first things first, the first building blocks.
Yeah. And I've been happier.
Yeah.
My marriage has been better.
And it always shows in the work too.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel I've never felt closer to my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Never felt closer to my friends. And I don't blame Parker for that. I
Right.
truly do blame myself for my work ethic. Yeah, just not. I'm somebody I've learned, and Parker knows about me now, is that if I'm not truly passionate about it, I won't really give it my all. And I think about my mission, I was so passionate about that, I gave it everything I had.
Right.
And at first, I did that with FTF. I gave it everything I had. But then Jake Weiser Film started taking off. And by taking off, it wasn't making me more money than FTF was. It wasn't had to have more followers than FTF did. But it was something I had built from level 0 with a crappy wedding video and no followers, that had gotten to 10 inquiries a week from people. And that's what was the fulfillment. And then you and I, just this last year, having an amazing Facebook community of 1,800 people so far, and courses and selling out first a workshop in Ephraim, Utah, and then another overselling a workshop this last month, and launching our next workshop. It's probably already launched by the time this episode comes out, but I get so much fulfillment from that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And I love owning it.
Another thing that you really like doing is short films.
Yeah,
So
I haven't done one in a while.
even though we have Runaway Vows, you do have some ideas of short films in the queue.
Yeah.
What's the short film you would like to do next?
It's called Of Riches and Drugs.
Of Riches and Drugs.
Yeah.
We're not doing barbithics.
No, that's one day.
What about the Beaver Gym
Yeah, we
gas
have some
station?
cool stories.
You got some stories.
We'll talk about
some
those,
short
yeah.
films.
So yeah, I just feel like it's opened my mind up, and we can talk about this year all day long, because this year has been a building year.
Yeah, and we will.
But next year we'll have a lot more time to focus on the business, and I don't know. It's just been like my journey's been. It's been ups and downs, but I've loved the downs, man. I look back. I think now is the first time in my life I really appreciate the downs.
Yeah, you love the downs.
I really look back. I look back at my weight, and I want to be gentle here, because I know weight is relative to people, based on your genes and based on your own habits and
whole lot of
problems
things.
and everything. I have a lot of body insecurities about myself, unwarranted. I'll admit it. It's completely unwarranted. People have it worse, but you're insecure about what you're insecure about. And this last year is the first time in my life where I've been consistent in the gym. And then I don't want to say consistent in diet, because that's not true, but I've been better in diet than ever before in my life. And that has played into my mental health and my work ethic. And I know for a fact that if I would have prioritized my mental health and physical health, that my time at FTF probably would have been a better experience as well.
Yeah.
my annoyance that I blamed at the time, I blamed FTF for my lack of health, but that's just not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Like our workshop, I blame the workshop for not going to the gym, whereas I could have made it work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's been everything I learn, everything I struggle with. I've tried to learn from this year.
Yeah.
And having a support system, having you, having Dallin, Sam, and obviously my amazing wife as the number one, like, makes a difference.
It does.
You know. And I feel like I wasn't letting all of them fully into my life until last year.
Yeah. Till you were in a spot where you were kind of healthy to do it.
Because you gotta really be humble to and vulnerable for those.
Yeah.
And vulnerability, I think was a hard one for me.
Yeah.
So I always thought like I just want to grin and bear it and tough it out and
Put your nose down and do the work.
no one needs to know what I'm going through. You know, it's my problems. But I've learned that no, like let people help you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been good. I love my journey. Yeah, I love FTF. I love Parker.
Yeah.
I love him. I think he's one of the most amazing men ever in my life.
He really is. An incredible mentor.
Truly is one of the best human beings out there. And people make fun of him. I'm like, you can make fun of Parker all day long, but you'll never be him.
Yeah. He's one of a kind.
He's one of a kind. He's a genius businessman.
Just a great dude.
And a family man and a loyal mentor.
Yeah.
Truly cares for your success more than he does for money.
He's truly one of those people that embodies the idea of make a lot of money so you can give a lot of money.
Yeah, and he does. Every year he's done a huge service project.
He does.
And I also think, like, last thing I'll say, and then we'll wrap up this 2-hour-long podcast, but people always ask, like, always ask us, how do you get started? How do you get your first client? How do you get this? And I want to talk, and you guys might not appreciate this, but it's who we are. It's who I am. Faith is a huge part of our lives. And I would be lying to everybody if I didn't say that God isn't the reason all these doors have opened in my life. The fact that Parker needed a music video extra, that I sat next to Sarah, all those things, and even just like looking back at my relationship with my wife, like my beginnings in this career and getting the clients I got in year 1, in year 2, in year 3, and even this year with Runaway Vows, you can try to connect the dots if you want, but I also am a firm believer that God has opened those doors and has blessed me with these miracles. And I think where our hard work comes into that is that I believe that we have taken those opportunities and then applied the hard work. And that's what's made the success. But it's not just us working 80 hours a week, hoping doors open. For me, it's the other way around. The doors open and we think, okay, we can't fumble this bag. Take this opportunity. Let's work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put our skills and make that opportunity worth it, that we don't even know where it's coming from. And just like things that have been happening in our lives, I just think. So I want that to be clear too. I look back on my story and I think that my family, my friends, Parker, all these things, opportunities, but God, and the faith to work hard and to trust that if I do the right things will happen. You know.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's been a great journey, man. Still in the thick of it.
Still in the thick of it. Yeah. Had a busy year, even busier 2024 coming up, but
hoping to do some short films next year though.
Yeah.
Would love to.
Yeah.
Runaway Studios. I don't know. Anyway, I gotta train our new hire.
The new brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So, is there any final words? Any final words of where?
Final words.
Let's say just from a Jake Weisler Films point of view, like where do you want to go? Do you want to do short films? Do you want to start doing more Lego builds? Like, do you want to start doing what?
I want to go all in on Runaway Vows. That's it.
Like that, yeah.
I want this to be self-sustaining.
Yep.
And then I would love to make some short films.
Just be able to do that on your own.
And like I would love to have a hangar one day. Like I think of Top Gun Maverick.
I would love a hangar.
I want a hangar one day. We have a couch, a car, and then a Lego room.
Just the upper deck.
I will be that
out.
40-year-old guy with like a Lego collection.
Oh, yeah.
No shame.
Oh yeah, no shame.
Yeah.
No shame.
And I want to be a better chef. I just watched MasterChef season 13.
Yeah, great show.
Nathan, as you as my witness, you will see him in that show one day. I may not make it to the end, but I will be there.
You're going to be in
the
MasterChef.
show.
You're saying right now you're going to be in MasterChef.
I'll be an amateur home cook trying to compete for the MasterChef title.
Man.
Might not make it past the first round, but I will be there.
MasterChef season 20.
I'll be there.
catch me in Guy Fieri grocery games.
Mark my words.
Okay. You're going to be in MasterChef.
Gordon Ramsay clapping my ears. You donut.
An idiot sandwich.
And I'll look at the camera and be like, that's for you, Nate. Anyway.
Just give me a wink. Well, it's been a crazy ride.
Yeah.
Love you, man.
Love you
It's
too,
been
man.
it's been incredible just seeing it from the sidelines, but also being involved with it. It's been wild.
Yeah.
But stoked for this next year.
Yeah. You guys, if you have any questions for me, DM me. I'm horrible at DMs, but I'll try to get back to you. The best way to reach us is to email us at contact@runawayvows.com. We will always email you back. DMs might get lost. So if you want to talk to us, really talk to us. If you have questions, if you relate to either of our stories too, like Nate and I would love to hear your stories.
Absolutely.
Email us your stories. Even like submit your story as like a podcast episode. Maybe we'll just choose the miscellaneous tab. We'll just maybe read some cool success stories one day.
Yeah. We'd love to do that.
If we're feeling virtuous. If not, we're gonna get back to the awkward moments.
that was fun.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.